The delegate from Virginia Beach, Delegate Miyares.
Madam Speaker, permission to speak to the bill.
Delegate Miyares, you have the floor.
Thank you. I appreciate just a quick moment for the chamber. Obviously, we're doing a lot of very consequential issues here. And oftentimes on the big bills, I kind of have a three-part test when I look at it. Number one, what is the problem that we're trying to solve? Two, does this legislation solve the problem that we're trying to solve? And then three, which I think sometimes we don't always kind of wrestle with, is what's the unintended consequences if this bill actually becomes law? And I think every single person, in fact, I know every single person in this chamber recognizes the problem we want to solve is we want to get rid of bad cops. All of us have that desire. I think my concerns about this bill is that it's going to have the unintended consequences of hurting the good cops. And I know I want to be clear for everybody in the chamber, you can now sue police officers. That is allowed right now under our current legal regime. In fact, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals just this year in the estate of Jones versus City of Martinsburg found 5 police officers were not allowed to use the qualified immunity defense. And in my hometown of Virginia Beach, very recently, the India Kager case in which she was a tragic victim in a shooting in which a perpetrator, Angelo Perry, was on the run. Virginia Beach SWAT team was attempting to execute an arrest warrant on him. He drew his weapon. The perpetrator fired several shots at the Virginia Beach SWAT team. They returned fire and very tragically took India's life. Her family filed an $80 million lawsuit against the city and the Virginia Beach Police Department, and they got an $800,000 verdict. And so qualified immunity is not just a blanket denial where people cannot bring litigation against police officers. But what this means is it establishes an entirely new standard where if you're a police officer engaging in a hot pursuit and you're driving above the speed limit, you could technically be and get an access, negligence per se, you could be sued. And so what's this going to happen is my concern is that as a time when we say, you know what, we need the good cops. We need good police officers. In my hometown of Virginia Beach, we are down between 60 and 80 police officers. These are open positions that we can't fill. And we're going to have officers that are basically going to be faced with the fact that they could be sued, as they're doing their $40,000 or $50,000 a year job. And so I've heard a lot of argument that not just this bill, but all other bills are not by police. And what I would just say, ask everybody in this chamber, why don't we actually listen to what the police are saying? And why I've been inundated with phone calls and with emails and with letters from officers all around the state is this is going to make our job immeasurably harder. And we've just looked at a host of bills that are going to make law enforcement jobs harder and more dangerous. And now we are basically putting them in the position where the good cops are all going to leave. Because if they're going to stay in the job they are, the liability exposure is just simply going to be enormous. And a lot of that's going to be paid by the localities and the taxpayers, which means they're going to be defending lawsuits instead of putting money into better police training and recruiting and hiring better cops. So I'd urge this body to vote no on HB 5013.